Well, good morning. It's a frosty one today. Still like -3. I don't know if you can see on the ground. You can see on the seat of that quad anyways. I can actually see my breath. Very unpleasant. But anyways, we had a really good weekend. We were at the in-laws on Saturday. Then we were here yesterday. I didn't do any bags or anything yesterday, but I did put a scratcher up for those cows. And I, put some straw, put some hay around. Buddy actually did some filming for me. So he got himself a drone at one of his hockey tournaments this year. He won it. So he had his debut of doing some drone footage. So I'll put that in here, a little bit of it. And then yesterday we loaded up Carl with some canola. So we are going to head off to town this morning with this load. And then once we get home, I don't know, maybe I'll load it up again and take another one today or tomorrow. I mean, most likely not. What's going on here? There's no air in here. I don't know, when I hooked these airlines up, I didn't have a hammer to tap these glad hand things tight, so I think it leaks out a little bit there. Anyways, it'll be okay for the first trip. Get some air back in it. I still had air in the truck a little bit this morning, but it must have leaked out through that. Must have leaked out from where they're hooked up. I'll get some soapy water when I get back, maybe, and give it a bit of a spray. Got everything greased up yesterday before we loaded, so that's always nice. Water's dripping off of this thing like crazy. Those are latched up, nice. It's crazy with social media now when you get to watch and you see people down south or whatever and they're already seeding and you think like, holy cow, it's cold, like really cold. We're quite a ways away from that here yet. I'd say at least a week. I am hoping maybe by the end of the week, if we don't have any rain though, maybe we can get out and try the anhydrous machine out again, see how the new hitch is going to hold up or the wheels are going to stay on. I don't know, is that suspension going up or what? All right. Life is good. I got these Blue Ink Tech load cell things on there. You put in your airline and it tells you how much weight you got in your truck. I bought them when I was still doing some hauling, and now we don't do very much hauling at all, so they don't get used. Batteries were dead. I did switch out the batteries yesterday, but I'm not happy with the reading. I'm actually wondering if through the blast and paint process, look at the water dripping off of there. Through the blast and paint process, maybe they got wrecked. There's one right there, you can see. But we'll see what it says when I get to the elevator versus what the elevator scale says.
About 2 inches. Yeah. Okay. Stop, stop, stop.
Well, good evening. 7:30, a little after actually, about 7:35. I had dinner and now I'm back out. So I hauled a couple loads of canola this morning and then I got right back and started making feed. So I made 4, 5, 6, 6 tons, which I thought was good enough. All things considered, it was about 1 o'clock when I started. There's a pigeon, I hate pigeons. And then Corey was in and about and around with this new gadget. We were unsuccessful at the auction sale a little week ago, whenever that was. So I told her to go and just see what one is worth, what a new one's worth, because we kind of need something. And now with these shelves that we built, like, look, we got all this space again. And most of this could be done by hand, right? All the little bags, but I mean, you would just be a really long time. And then of course these totes, you can't get up there without anything. And And it's not wide enough to get the backhoe or the telehandler in here. They're just too big. So she was moving stuff around, and then she, trying to get a feel for that machine. And then she put we had the bucket on it, and we were smoothing out the yard a bit. And then she put the broom on it, and she went and tried that out, swept off the rocks, swept them off the lawn from where they get plowed up in the winter, and then was back in here organizing all this. And then that's kind of a good and a bad thing, because that machine's basically been here all afternoon. I made one bag with it, and that was it. That would not be handy. That's not a machine for that. I suppose if it had like its own scale that are tied into the hydraulics, where you could just have the bag on the forks, it would be fine. But on the rack that I built to hold the bag open, and then the crane scale, it's just it has to be up way too high, and you'd actually run the risk of the bag swinging right into the front window. So it took me a long time to make that one bag. I was just kind of trying it out to see if it would even work. And of course it would. I did get the bag made, but it took forever. So it would be good for loading bags. I loaded a whole ton into the back of a lady's truck. She left her tailgate down, and I came in from the back of the truck, and I could get it all the way to the front of the box, because that's got the telescoping boom on it. And that was a whole ton, but that was just on the forks, right? So you could do that. Totes, 3,100, 3,200 pounds, could lift those up, put them in the back of people's trucks. As long as the boom is all the way in, it was no issue. So it would be handy for that. It would be handy for the shed. It would be handy for all of the yard work, but at north of 100,000, I just don't know. I don't know if that's the thing for us. That's a whole lot of money for a little bit of convenience and whatever else you want to call it. But we got some thinking to do. Now, there was some programs, I guess 0% down, 0% financing, but Corey was just telling me at supper, apparently to use that function, that costs another $15,000 over and above the already 106 I think that machine's worth. So now you're like, I don't know, 125 probably all in. And then that has no attachments, doesn't even come with a bucket or nothing. So I thought that was a little bit rude too. But I don't know, maybe sometimes I think I'm just like totally out of touch, and I probably am. I just, this stuff is getting way too expensive, like borderline not even doable anymore. I mean, everything's okay if prices stay sky high and, the crop comes in and everything else, but, you start to go through a few bad years where you've made all these big expenses in the good years. That doesn't sit well with me. So, like you say, we definitely got some thinking to do. This mill is still out of commission, but Corey ran these parts over to Mr. Monkman Machining, and he was able to build me repair that collar piece on there. So I'm gonna, oops, that's the bill. So take that in for Corey. I'm gonna put that on the counter over here, and I think I'm gonna try to put this together. See if I can have some success this evening before I go in for the night. So let me know your thoughts on this skid steer. What would you do? What would you do if you were moving lots of totes and pallets and bags and skids around, and you were basically doing a very small amount of warehousing, plus you needed it around the farm anyways? Would you go new? Would you go used? The problem with used is, for us, is there's not a lot of those telescoping ones with the side door, right? In fact, JCB is the only ones that make a telescoping one with a side door. And it just seems, for our situation, what we plan to use it for, it would just be a waste of money to get one where you can't get out when the forks are up, because all we're going to be doing with it is moving bags around. So the forks are always going to be up, and you're always going to have to get out to put the loops on. And then if you go that route, you may as well get the one where you can telescope out a little bit. So if you're going to set a tote on someone's trailer or in the back of someone's horse trailer, you can actually get it in there. That's why we went this way, for no other reason. She did look at other skid steers as well. It's just these guys are the local dealership in Beaver Lodge is the JCB dealer. So they said, well, we'll just bring you one out. And they did. Never had a demo before of anything, but we got that. So anyways, let me know. What do you think? What would you do? I'm going to put my hammer mill gearbox together.